Cabaret Voltaire were a British band from Sheffield. They existed from 1973 to 1994, and then again from 2009 to 2021. In their early days, they were definitely experimental music. Their live shows were often confrontational, and they were regarded as one of the foundations of industrial music. Later, and when I say later, I think that we're kind of talking about into the 80s here. They brought in dance and pop elements into their music. They have released 16 albums. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the first album by Cabaret Voltaire, and it's my first time listening to it. It's not the first Cabaret Voltaire review on this channel. And this is described as industrial post-punk, I think, by Wikipedia. And I guess who am I to argue with that? I wouldn't necessarily know how to land that exactly and describe it. But yeah, it's a good start in terms of having a genre description. But let's actually do some more proper description. So I guess the word lo-fi comes in here, meaning that the production quality of the recording is it doesn't have kind of a rich, full feel to it. I'm hesitating not to say it's recorded badly because I'm not sure that it is. I think it's recorded how they want it to be. Quite a lot of what's going on here is noise as opposed to notes, and there's heavy use of effects like reverb and echo and sweep filters and phasing and things like that. There's a lot of effects being thrown at this. Musically, it's quite simple, although occasionally they do use some quite odd time signatures, and even when they're in a normal time signature, sometimes the rhythms that they use are somewhat unusual. The singing at times is heavily processed, so at times it's hard to follow, but not always. It's quite angry and it's quite kind of semi-singing, and what is being sung doesn't always make sense, and what is being sung isn't always words, actually, even here. And sometimes it's deliberate nonsense. So the overall effect, I would say, is a bit like if you think about a painting that is of a landscape and is aiming to be realistic, and if that's kind of normal mainstream music, this is more like kind of Van Gogh stuff. It's unusual and off the wall and deliberately breaking the mold of what of what you listen to. So it's definitely experimental in that sense, and it's deliberately weird in several ways. The Going back to the production is often actually quite limited in a tonal range, so it doesn't have very kind of shiny high end stuff, and it doesn't have a lot of low end. Actually, it sounds very kind of middle range, which gives it this lo-fi sound to it. It's quite abrasive at times, and that's emphasised by the use of a particularly abrasive sounds and noises, like sometimes very over distorted elements, like guitars that sound like they're being played way too loud for a tiny loudspeaker. So, a speaker about this size, such as you used to get in transistor radios, and then kind of pushed way beyond its limits, which gives you a very particular kind of distorted sound to it. The term squawk box could apply here. So, I guess if you like lo-fi weirdness, you might like this. I'm going to particularly say if you like The Residents, you might find this something you'd really enjoy listening to. I think its uniqueness is in this kind of stepping out from the norms, both musically into more kind of noise stuff and in the production, and throwing so much in terms of sound effects and kind of processing to it. It feels a bit like garage recording deliberately, and then, as I say, I keep talking about how much effect there is, so it's over affected again deliberately, almost as if it had been a really kind of mediocre garage recording, and then they deliberately added a whole lot of effects just to make it more interesting. But actually, I don't think that was an afterthought. I think that was always the intent, because the vocals and the words kind of cut that weirdness. One thing that I read referenced dub, so it's not stylistically dub in terms of the music and the way the notes and the chords and stuff like that are used. But in some ways, it is kind of got the emptiness of dub, and it's got the large number of effects that dub often has, and often has something. Then the effect goes on and it builds, and so it has a lot of that kind of approach. And I guess it's contemporary of when dub was becoming popular, kind of towards the end of the 70s. So maybe there is some particular influence there. Overall, what would I say about it? I felt somewhat intrigued, but I wouldn't say that I actually particularly enjoyed it. I don't think it's an easy album to listen to, and I'm not sure that many people would like it unless you particularly like lo-fi weirdness. So that's what I think. And as always, I'd love to invite you to tell me what you think. So please leave a comment. Please leave a comment. Please leave a comment. That's it from me for now.